Hello beautiful people, it's Sheila here. I know it's been a moment since I've last posted a video, but life happens and boy has it been interesting. I'm sure you guys have stories too. So today I want to bring you a chat about epigenetics, a term I learned a few years ago but didn't really look into until just recently. So, but before we get into the topic at hand, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a conscious empath, a master Reiki practitioner, and I'm also the founder of BohemianWomanRising.com, where we challenge social assumptions in pursuit of spiritual transformation. If you want to learn more about that and what we do there, please visit the website BohemianWomanRising.com. You'll find lots of information. I hope you find it interesting. I'm also an artisan. I make my own jewelry. I craft dolls and sock dolls and hats and scarves, all sorts of things. If you want to learn more about that, please visit my Instagram account by the same name, Bohemian Woman Rising. I'm looking forward to connecting with you folks. So now we're going to get back to the topic of epigenetics, and I'm going to be referring to my notes because I am a bit of an introvert, and I get nervous making these videos. I'm just putting that out there, so I don't want to mess this up, and I don't want to miss anything, so I will be looking at my notes. Please forgive me. So epigenetics, I entitled this Intergenerational Impacts. What we don't know can be dangerous. My disclaimer is nothing that we discuss here should ever be construed as medical, financial, or legal advice. Always seek out licensed professionals. I'm just sharing my experience, my insights and thoughts. Okay. So today we're going to explore the phenomenon of epigenetics. The first time I heard the term was about 10 years ago from Canadian Professor God Saad. He noted that intergenerational trauma can be a catalyst for phenotype body cells to transform in response to environmental factors. I know. It was like dense. That was really technically dense for me. I found this to also be true in the research that I did on the topic. It was like, at points it felt like the Peanuts cartoon characters listening to their parents going wah 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 wah. And like, I'm gonna have to reread this a couple of times, but I think I've gotten the gist of it now. And the importance of epigenetics, what I've learned is that the importance of epigenetics, of understanding epigenetics, is legion in terms of how we live our lives, the decisions we make. It's passed down ancestrally through generations, hundreds and hundreds of years of genetic information is passed down to us today. To me, that's just fascinating, and how we're not even conscious of. I think most of us are not conscious of how those ancestral genetics influence our decisions, our biological body responses. We're not conscious of that, of the way epigenetics influences all of those things. To me, that's fascinating. So, because the jargon is kind of dense, I'm going to read through some of the terminology that stuck out to me that might be helpful to you as we go through this discussion. So I'm just going to read. It's not an exhaustive list of terminology by any stretch. I encourage you to go out there and do your own research. But some of the definitions that came up that maybe we should be keeping in mind I'm sure we should be keeping them in mind as we discuss, as we chat. Acculturation. Assimilation to a different culture, typically the dominant one. The process of acculturation may impact both social and psychological well-being. Alleles, one of two or more alternative forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome. Cells are the smallest common denominator of life. Some cells are organisms unto themselves, others are part of multi-cellular organisms. DNA, a self-replicating material that is present in nearly all living organisms as the main constituent of chromosomes. It is a carrier of genetic information. Epigenetics, the study of changes in organisms caused by modification of gene expression rather than alteration of the genetic code itself. Gene, in informal use, a unit of heredity which is transferred from a parent to offspring and is held to determine some characteristic of the offspring. Genotype refers to the genetic makeup of an organism. In other words, it describes an organism's complete set of genes. In a more narrow sense, the term can be used to refer to the alleles or variant forms of a gene that are carried by an organism. So genotypes is is the aspect of the cell that is influenced by epigenetics. That's the best way I can describe it. Intergenerational, relating to, involving, or affecting several generations. Phenotype refers to the observable physical properties of an organism. These include the organism's appearance, development, and behavior. Psychosomatic, of a physical illness or other condition, caused or created or aggravated by a mental factor such as internal conflict or stress. Neuroaesthetics is a field of experimental science that aims to combine neuropsychological research with aesthetics by investigating the perception, production, and response to art, as well as interactions with objects and scenes that evoke an intense feeling, often of pleasure. So those are the words that I chose to make note of during my research of putting this all together, assimilating the information for myself. So I do have it's hard for me to articulate how astonishing this information about epigenetics is. It's just you think back over your life and decisions you've made, ailments you've had, all influenced by epigenetics. I mean, this is totally fascinating to me. Anyway, so to further try to break down epigenetics, the paradigm of epigenetics, I created a little mini grid for myself. Left-hand column was environmental factors that impact. The second column, phenotype, the epigenetics expression. So under environmental factors, the first category I have is stress, and that's in the phenotype epigenetic expression was anxiety. Under environmental factors, I have diet. The phenotype expression would be allergies. Under environmental factors, I have family genetics, predisposition towards certain ailments like diabetes, arthritis. I'm sure there are a few more. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. Emotions, under environmental factors, emotions and behaviors. The phenotype epigenetic expression would be depression, anger, addictions. And this also made me think about the baby feels what the mother feels during 9 months incubation, like intrauterine depression. That baby will have that in its genes. If the mom's depressed, then the baby will be depressed. Let me not say that. The baby may be depressed. And also the mother carries the genes of every child she's ever given birth to in her body for the rest of her life. That's interesting. I mean, our bodies are fascinating, wondrous things. Also, those phenotype epigenetic expressions that we just covered are all biological. I call them covert. They're not obvious. But overt environmental factors that would have overt epigenetic expressions are, your hair, where you live in the world, your environment, literally where you're placed in the planet, your family environment, your social, your broader community. So those for the physical attributes, specifically your hair textures, your skin tone, height, eye color, for me, those are all overt expressions of epigenetics, and everything before that we discussed are biological, or I say covert, but clearly it's biological epigenetic expressions. So in considering this, in considering the epigenetic paradigm world, I have questions. And I don't pretend to have the answers, but maybe you guys have some answers. So I'm just going to read through my questions, and I would love to hear from you in the comment section. Also on the questions, any other thoughts you want to share, please do. So when considering the centuries-long impact and implications of epigenetics relative to established social norms, i.e. gender, other populations, meaning women, elderly, differently abled, First Nation peoples, and people of color, where are we, the human race, headed again, taking into consideration the genetically baked in emotional cultural standards and dominant social constructs? All of the stuff that's influencing our decisions based on our biological experiences and emotional experiences, they influence our thought processes. Of course, I mean it's obvious, but and of course that's obvious, but on another level, not all of us know about or understand epigenetics and just how deep those thoughts and biological impressions are, and how impactful they are on our genes and our emotions. I mean, it's astounding to me. My next question is, how do we, in the face of epigenetics, transform dominant cultural mores, social norms, to better reflect the needs of a diverse human population, when considering, to a certain extent, humans are functioning blindly at a biological level, intrinsically influenced by ancestral genetics and historically dominant cultural standards? So on some level, we're operating in an emotional, blind. Ourselves are influencing things, our decisions, to a certain degree, deeply embedded in our biology. There's an influence happening with our decision making, with our physical bodies. It's, again, astounding. According to this sociological review publication, they have an article on cultural epigenetics, and it states, the website is Sociological Review Publications, and I quote here, A growing number of investigations show that lifestyle changes resulting from nutritional, toxicological, and psychological stresses are reflected in changes in the epigenetic profile of individuals, and that learning and memory have epigenetic correlates. Moreover, various types of epigenetic changes can be inherited and affect the characters of descendants, close quote. That's by Eva Jablonka et al. Again, you can find that research article on Sociological Review Publications. So I ask, how do epigenetics correlate to the establishment and influence of dominant cultures, given the particular types of epigenetic changes inherited by members of dominant cultures? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we have some ideas. Just explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old. The good news, of course, is we have the capacity to change, minimize epigenetic impacts. The human body is a wondrous thing, and it always seeks optimum wellness. And with my newfound understanding of epigenetics, that level of biological and emotional wellness is influenced by one's particular environmental factors. We can still course correct. We are the masters of our own ships. Nurture versus nature comes to mind, and thus we are responsible for our own well-being. There's nothing more empowering than self-actualization. The work we do ourselves, for ourselves, in service of ourselves, and when I say in service of ourselves, in terms of our well-being, our physical and emotional well-being, there's nothing more important. And of course, we can seek outside help with that, but we have to have the impetus, to start and see it through to the end. So Dr. Tara Swart, the neurologist, she talks about neuroaesthetics, and that was my next category. Neuroaesthetics towards achieving positive self-perception. So she states, Dr. Tara Swart states, language is important to change our brains. No doubt. So of course, I will add that our internal dialogue is essential to our well-being. We've heard this stated from many different health and wellness communities. What we are, what we think. And energy is important to affect change in the brain. I submit that energy is important to affect change in the brain. Everything is energy, and the energy we keep is the energy we express. So make sure you're in a good energetic space. Surround yourself with good energetic people. Eat good energetic foods, etc., etc., etc. And towards achieving a harmonious energetic environment, I think the first thing we should do, I've started this research. I'm definitely going to read Dr. Tara Swart's book in its entirety. But we need to become more aware about epigenetics and what that means to us individually. So definitely do your research. Talk to your family members if that's possible. And what's that saying? When you know better, you do better. Let's get to it. So I've used and will continue to seek out different wellness modalities: talk therapy, massage therapy, acupuncture, did I say arts and crafts, meditation. What am I forgetting? I think that's a lot of it. Again, this is just stuff that I've done that works for me. Again, this is not medical advice. Do not consider this any type of medical advice. Do your own research and consult your licensed professionals and find what works best for you in your body. Oh yes, so there's going to be I want you to stay tuned. There's going to be a part 2 where I'm going to interview a certified life coach, and that just seems to be the next natural step to this post, this chat would be to let's dive into what we can do to empower ourselves to live our best whole lives in harmony and wellness and energetically peaceful. I think there's nothing more important. We are all we have. We get this body and we need on this planet at this time, and we need to do all that we can to honor and bless it. I do thank you for taking this time to chat or listen to me chat. I appreciate you. I was so nervous. I'm sorry if that came across, but I'm human. What can I say? If anything in here resonates in this chat, please check out my YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and share this video. Leave comments. Let's figure this out together. Namaste, beautiful people.